Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we will discuss about user story in Agile Scrum, how it is defined, what exactly is a user story. We will also go through some examples of user story, examples, how to write a user story, what is the acceptance criteria in a user story, what is an epic, what's the relationship between epic and a user story, what's the relationship between a theme and a user story. We will also go through what is invest in user story, what are these properties, and also some of the best practices when it comes to the user story writing. So let's start. So how can we define a user story in Agile Scrum? So user story is nothing but a distinct requirement which is written in a simple language from an end user's perspective. So whatever system or product we want to develop and we want to capture the requirements, we have to consider the end user. So I mean, if we see the user story, it comprises of two words, user and story. So the first word, user, it depicts the user who will be using the system. So that means, when we are writing the user story, we have to write it from an end user's perspective. The end user need not to be always be an external user or a customer. It could be an internal user as well, like how the internal user will be maintaining the application, how the system users will be using the application. So user story is a very important unit when it comes to the iterative development. It's a key device. It's the smallest unit in the agile software development. So let's understand from some examples. So how we can define a user story. So the format is, let me just highlight it. So the format of writing user story is, as a user role, I want this functionality so that we can achieve certain benefit or we can get certain value. So this is typically the format in which user story is defined. As a user role, I want functionality so that benefit or a value can be obtained. So these are some of the examples which I have captured. Like, as a user, I can create or edit my profile. I can create and edit my profile so that I can maintain profile details online. So this user story is talking about a user who wants to create a profile in an application, who wants to edit a profile in his in the application. And so this is how we have written, as a user role, what exactly we want to do so that what value we are achieving. Second example is, as a customer, I want to add products in cart so that I can purchase them. So here customer wants to add single product or multiple products in the e-cart so that the customer can purchase them. So this is e-cart functionality. Third example is, as a customer, I want to make credit card payment for the order so that I can pay and place my order. So again, the third story is written from a customer's perspective. Fourth story is, as a user, I want to renew my health policy so that my policy can be extended. So this is how we define the user story, typically as a user role, what exactly we want to do so that we can achieve certain benefits or value. Now moving to the next one, user story acceptance criteria. So what is the acceptance criteria in a user story? So like we have seen that we have created a definition of user story. That's the first thing. And the other thing is, we need to list down what exactly needs to be done as part of the user story. So like like the word describes, acceptance criteria, that simply means when the developer or any team says they are done with the user story, what exactly they have done as part of the user story, that will be determined by the acceptance criteria. So let's consider an example of a user story. Again, the create and edit profile. So the user story definition says, as a user, I can create and edit my profile so that I can maintain profile details online. So the acceptance criteria from an example perspective could be, user enters details in first name, last name, address, mobile number and email fields. So user is notified in case of wrong mobile and email entries. That means validation needs to be in place. User is able to create profile if everything is fine, including the validation. User is able to successfully create profile and he is prompted on that. He is given a message that your profile has been created. The last thing, the fourth thing is, user is also able to edit his profile details. User is prompted on successful updates to his profile. So in case user wants to edit his name or address or mobile number or email, he can do so by editing his profile. So this is what the acceptance criteria for this user story will tell. Now let's understand what is an epic and a user story relation. So what is an epic? So epic can be thought of as a large user story, right? So I mean, when we think of the word epic, the what comes to our mind is Mahabharata or Ramayana, right? A big stories. So even if we consider Mahabharata as an epic, it itself consists of smaller stories. So there are n number of stories within Mahabharata, right? When the journey started, when Mahabharata ended, from a Gita Upadesha, so we can consider it as an epic. So on a similar notes, in Agile Scrum, epic is nothing but a large user story. So we divide epic into smaller chunks or a smaller user stories for the development purpose. And what is a theme? So theme is nothing but a collection of related user story. Okay, so this is a pictorial diagram which let me just highlight it. Like we have an epic one. It could be anything, and this epic consists of three user stories: user story 1, 2, and 3. And similarly, this user story, user story 1, it can be developed using the n number of tasks. Okay, so user story can be divided into the task, like what exactly needs to be done as part of that user story. Now let's consider an example of epic. So a simple epic could be online payments. Okay, and this epic consists of user story 1, like payment through debit card. We have a second user story, payment through credit card. The third user story, payment through net banking. And the fourth user story in this epic, payment through wallet. So it all depends upon what level of granularity we want in our project or product. In some of the projects, this payment through debit card itself could be a further epic. Like we can further divide this into the smaller user story. So this is just to give everyone an example that when we are considering of online payments in any online application or e-commerce application, these are some of the ways we can user can make the payments. And this is how the user stories can be further divided. Like we can have a payment through debit card, credit card, net banking, or it could be wallets. Now, if we consider the example of a theme, so we have already understood, like what exactly is a theme. Theme is nothing but a collection of a related user story. It's, we can think of like it's a bundle. Okay, so on a very simple example, if user profile is a theme, the related user story could be create user profile, edit user profile. We have a delete user profile password setup, and manage email subscription. Now we have understood like what exactly is a user story, how it is defined. We have also gone through some examples of writing user story. We have also seen what exactly is an acceptance criteria user story, what is an epic, what is a theme. We have gone through the examples. Now what are the attributes of a good user story? So in Agile Scrum, we define the attributes of a good user story using an acronym called INVEST. So INVEST is nothing but it's basically used to define the properties of a good user story. So I stands for independent, N stands for negotiable, V for valuable, E for estimable, S for small, and T for testable. So when we say the user story is independent, that simply means it must be independent or self-sufficient. It must have everything clearly defined in it. It must be negotiable. That means when the if I am the product owner, I am telling my a team like this is what the user story is all about. I'm also able to take up the suggestions or anything which the team is saying it is not doable or it is doable from a technical perspective. So that sort of a discussions happens with the team. If anything needs to be changed or rewritten, so PO or the product owner considers it. So it is negotiable. Third thing is it is valuable. That simply means it delivers value to the customer, right? And it is estimable. So this is a user story should be something which can be estimated by by the team. I mean, if we consider having a user story which is so large in itself, the team is having a problem in estimating it. So user story should be written in such a way so that it can be estimated. It should be small enough so that team can develop it in the defined sprint or iteration. So whether we are considering a 2 weeks of iteration, 3 weeks of iteration, or a 4 weeks of iteration, we have written user story in such a manner that it's small, it fits it into the sprint. And the last one is it is testable, right? So it has the acceptance criteria is written in such a way that it gives clear guidance to the development team as well as to the QA person, so that the user story can be tested. Now, what are the best practices when it comes to developing the user stories? So the first thing is when it comes to the Agile Scrum process, product owner should be responsible for writing user story. If PO or his team is new to the Scrum process, Scrum Master may guide him in terms of understanding the user story, what exactly is the user story, how it is written, how to well maintain the product backlog. But the ownership of writing the user story will always remain with the product owner. So in a large application or a large product, a product owner may have his own team of BAs, but from a team's perspective, the product owner will be the single point of contact in terms of explaining the requirements of the user stories to the team. Second point is PO interacts with the team to discuss or collaborate on user stories during backlog grooming session. So we all know that there is a meeting which happens just before we start any iteration, backlog grooming session. So this meeting, PO discusses with the team what are the set of user story which are coming in the next iteration, and if there are any changes that needs to be made in those user story, that are discussed with the team. POs should also consider team's feedback or suggestion for making any changes in user story that we have already discussed. And in case the user story is large, which cannot be fitted into a sprint, if the team is saying, okay, the work is too much into this user story, they cannot complete this user story in a single sprint, then POs should also consider dividing the user story into the smaller chunks. And the final thing is that acceptance criteria should be clearly defined for a user story. So it brings the clarity, it brings the it avoids any to and fro work when it comes to the developing a user story. So PO and his team, they should give you know a good emphasis on writing a simple and clearly defined acceptance criteria as part of the user story development. So I hope this video about the user story, uh, we have gone through the examples, and we have also gone through the epic and theme examples. This video could be useful for the members who wants to start writing the user stories for their project. So I hope you guys liked it, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you everyone. Thanks.